Yeah, it goes down the drain. Yeah. Therefore, it loses its holiness. That's okay. That's okay. I'm not good. Thank you for sharing that, Hannah. I appreciate that there is no such a thing. Okay? The purity is in God. There is no purity in the water.
I thought it was a beautiful story.
That's it. So, the reason why I share that with you, it's beautiful news. I know the person very well. But why the confusion of the person? I am a little bit confused. She's not a little bit confused. But thank God she wrote in the email what she has learned with the Sword Ministries. That the day that you are saved, you receive the Holy Spirit, you don't need any prayers, laying on hands, you need none of it. You're saved. Beautiful. Forever. Now, after that, you need prayers for different things. But salvation is by grace, through faith alone, plus nothing. If you don't hear this in your places of worship, it would be time to re-question where you go. Prayer. Gracious Father, after the reading of the letter that I did receive, my inward parts are vibrating. My breathing, my heart throbs. In this place, we love your apparel. We love your word. We want to learn. We want to apply them as much as we can. Forgive our disobedience many times. I'm asking you an edge of protection on the one that just came to faith in the last few days. May the feeling of being relieved from the burden of this world and the burden of our sins in which we were plainly spiritually dead. May the uplifting of the burden remain a sensation that is absolutely divine. Thank you for the continuity of our ministry together, sustained by those that are receiving the teaching and your divine standard and will to them. Bless us this morning. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Last week I left you with a bit of confusion concerning Paul's affliction promote the gospel anywhere between verses 12 and 18. Let's read. I'm just going to correct a few things here. Not correct, but just to remind you of a few things. Where he says, now I want you to know, brothers, that my circumstances have turned out for the greater progress, the advancement of the gospel. That's all I have to say. So that, its connective clause, my imprisonment in the cause of Christ has become well known throughout the whole Praetorian Guard and to everyone else. I ask you to circle Praetorian and everyone else, simply because last week I explained to you that sometimes the word Praetorian is used as a place, and sometimes this word is used as a person. And we were awestruck yesterday because we know that Paul rubbed shoulder with many, many guards, and he led them to Christ, not them all, but the crowd, and he'd give thanks at the end of his about the book of Acts to pray for these guys also. Verse 14, point number 1, 14a, and that most of the brethren, trusting in the Lord because of my imprisonment, have far more courage to speak the word of God without fear. The number one was most or many, okay? And it refers to a specific group here, and it would emphasize a majority. That was the 14, that's the first point. The second point, where he says in verse 14, brethren, they are saved. Why? They are real brethren, trusting in the Lord. It's positional. Point number 3, always as far as review is concerned, because of my imprisonment here. Circle that. Because of my imprisonment in verse 14. This situation caused them to stand for the truth. Caused some to stand for the truth. And they displayed this attitude to be willing to stand up here by the testimonies and their action, their service to God. And I said, think about the decrees of God that I explained extensively yesterday for His glory, not yesterday, but last week. Paul was thrown in prison, not outside the knowledge of God and His control, and some step up to serve. I would like to see this happening, but it's not happening here nowadays. People love the world too much. Number 4, 14c, speak the word without fear. And I explained that this is natural for us to have fears when we share the gospel and so on. However, it can be overcome by understanding positional truth, how solid we are, and the decrees of God. And knowing how to divide the scriptures, because the reason I read that to you at the beginning was, I challenge you right now, don't answer. Okay? Where she said, I praise God. Question, I told some of my friends, if the person, the lady here, would have called you, if she would have called you, all of you, or one of you, what would be the reply to it?
Hallelujah.
Pardon me?
Hallelujah.
Okay? How would you have replied to her?
You're saved forever.
Okay, that's fine. I was not expecting an answer, but when you become... The issue here, speak the word without fear and everything that he wants to establish. That's what we do. Once you are established, not by a denomination, but by the Bible, by God and His Word, you know what to answer and you become immovable. No. No addition. It looks gay. The lady is shy. Imagine asking the lady to sit right there, here, we'll lay hands on you right now. It's enough to return to the pub. Way more comfortable. There was basically 4 things, nothing like 5 points, delete to 5 points, it was 4 points, okay? And I gave you the scriptures in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verses 7 to 8. Is there where we have left?
Yeah.
Good. Now we come to verses 15 and 17. Come with me. I circled this because this is somewhat a good section that needs to be understood. 15. Some, circle some, to be sure are preaching Christ even from envy, circle envy, and strife. But some also from goodwill. The latter do it out of love, knowing that I am appointed, circle I am appointed, for the defense of the gospel, circle defense. The former proclaim Christ out of selfish ambition, rather than from pure motives, thinking to cause me distress, circle distress, in my imprisonment. This is the question here. This is the teaching now that is new unto us. The fact that we have a couple times 2, the word some indicates that we have 2 groups here. By the word some twice, some, it gives us 2 groups here. And the imprisonment of Paul caused people to be willing to preach the gospel, but each group had different reasons to do so. Each group have different reasons to do so. Number 1 group, or group number 1. First group. The first group here, it's the improper motivation. The first group that is improper in their motivations are characterized by 5 things. Not 4. But 5, and we'll see at the end if it matches the 5. I think it will. I reviewed my work quite seriously. Number 1, they are characterized by envy and strife in verse 15. In verse 15, some, to be sure, are preaching Christ even from envy. The from means on account of. On account of envy and strife. I would like to spend a little bit more time still on number 1 on the word envy. I'm going to write this on the board in Greek. If you manage to know the pronunciation, you basically text me. PHT. PHT, that's the Greek word, just to laugh together. PHTH, PHTH, unon. So if you manage the pronunciation of this at the break, I give you a trophy. But it means a work done in the flesh. The word envy here, phtonon, which this is my best guess, phtonon, it's a work done in the flesh. The person is saved, but they operate in the flesh. And when you operate in the flesh, it means a lack of submission to the word. All of us is exposed to that. We are saved, but whatever we do in the flesh is not in submission to the word. Anything. You do a donation, but you say, I find it's a lot of money today to give. It's in the flesh. Scratch that, keep your money. The donation or the service of placing chairs, tables for me prior to your arrival, turning the coffee on, I went and bought the coffee cream. We constantly have to be aware. We do it with what kind of attitude? It's difficult. It's beautiful at the same time. The envy is basically jealousy, because for the main part, the Philippians are jealous of the popularity of Paul. I have suffered that in the ministry a lot. Not the popularity, because my group are way, way smaller than the majority of all your churches. But because I know about 2-3 things in the Word, they're jealous. They want to stay away from me because I make them look. That's the completion of number 1. Number 2, the result of envy is strife, number 2. Strife means contention. Contention. The word is erin, for strife, E-R-I-N. That's simple, erin. Strife, it's contention. Without losing your place, make a note only. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 4. Same author, Paul, different time, doesn't matter. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 4. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 4. If you want to go. Let's read verse 3 also. If anyone advocates a different doctrine and does not agree with sound words, Paul says, those of our Lord Jesus Christ, the sound word, and with the doctrine confirming to godliness, he is conceited and understands nothing. But he has a morbid interest in controversial questions and disputes about words, out of which arise envy, strife, abusive language, evil suspicion. Okay? Such as those. So I use King James only because the King James Version is the Word of God. Disaster. I'm an Armenian and I am a Calvinist. Disaster. We're a Christist. Okay? First of all, the majority of time they don't know what Arminianism, the total of Arminianism teaches, and they don't know the different divisions of Calvin. When Calvin is biblical, John Calvin is biblical, I go Calvin. And when he is not, I don't go with him. John Calvin is not God. And he is wrong in many places. So these produces controversies that are unworthy, like we have read this morning. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 3. For you are still fleshly, for there is jealousy and strife among you. You are not and you are not fleshly, and you are not walking. For you are still fleshly. For since there is jealousy and strife among you, are you not fleshly? And are you not walking like mere men? So controversies about I don't believe that the flood was universal and so on and so forth, and only this Bible is true, and I don't, I held the view that whatever, bread and stuff like this, so much. It creates schism and so on. And most of the time, like I repeat, those who have that kind of mentality, we need to return to the Mosaic Law. Those who endorse these things don't have a clue, not even close, of what they are talking about. That completes my number 2. Number 3, in Philippians 17a, the former, circle former, that's the former group. We carry on with the bad guys, if you want to put it this way, out of selfish motivation, verse 3. In verse 17a, the former proclaimed Christ out of selfish ambition. We stop and make a slash forward after ambition. It counts in the negative.
16. Okay.
Yeah, 17a. 17a, just at the top part of the verse.
Find it 16a.
Oh, really? That's fine. The salutation or whatever the case could be. They love their own reputation and money. They love their own reputation and money. Reverend, senior pastor, and they take pride only in the pulpit. It's a little bit like the Pharisees. Outward manifestation of righteousness. That's the totality of my point 3. 17b, rather than from pure motives, thinking to cause me distress in my imprisonment. It's number 4. What they want to undermine Paul by showing to Paul that they can reach the same amount of followers. It's undermining without words and violence. They hope to make Paul jealous. All under point 4, they want to shake the psychological stability of the Apostle Paul. And believe you me, I have seen that also in my life. I am living this now.
Isn't that what happened in the letter?
Yeah.
Came along and tried
To shaken the stability of the person. Okay? The word affliction, circle the word affliction, still on number 4. Circle the word affliction here. It's a very special word here that makes distress. And the word in Greek that Paul used here is as if I would put a chain around your wrist. It rubs, and all of a sudden it lifts up the skin a little bit. It creates a painful rubbing. That's the word that he uses there. It's that kind of distress. That's murder in a slow cooker. In verse 18 and last, no, I'm going to wait. Some people are making notes. I want to respect you. Verse 18 is number 5. Verse 18 said, what then? Only that in every day, whether in pretense. I just want in pretense, that's all. In pretense, it relates to those without pure motivations. And it means basically write down pious hypocrisy. Pious hypocrisy. Now you can think Pharisee. Matthew 23, 14. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, Jesus said, because you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense, pious hypocrisy, you make long prayers. For that reason, you will receive greater condemnation. Matthew 23, 14. That's the God bless you. I'm with you in your affliction. If you're not with the person in the affliction, don't say that we are with the person in affliction. Specifically when there is no action being made, no email being sent, no phone call being done. Leave the person alone. You're not sharing in the affliction. If you want to share, share fully. Do the extra mile for that person. That's what we can glean. It looks godly on the outside. They preach the gospel. These guys in Philippi. Philippi is right there. But out of pretense, we did 5 things. Now, second group, those who are doing well. Second group, those who are doing well. Those who are genuine in the case of the Philippians here. Now we go back in our passage here. Now those with good motivation, you come with me in verse 15b. Make a slash after strife, but some also from goodwill. That's all I want. Some from goodwill. The but here, it's exactly on the other hand. Circle the but. It's the Greek connective that you guys or we guys use in English. On the other hand. That's exactly what the but means. It's not pero, it's a different word. On the other hand. Number 1. I don't know how many things I have. 4. Number 1. Out of goodwill. What seems to be good. Still on number 1. They want to preach while Paul is in prison. That's the primary context to encourage Paul saying you are in prison, but some good people are carrying the torch. That's all I have to say. To make Paul happy. Of course, it's driven by God, but not to compete with him. They seek the highest good for Paul, the one that has bestowed so much upon them. Verse 16. The latter do it out of love. Circle out of love. Agapeo. You know how to write it. Agapeo. Like it goes. A sincere love. A love of the will. I repeat, a love that seeks the highest good in the object loved. Love of the will. That's the love that helps us to love the most unlovable person. That doesn't mean to invite her for supper. It's not what it means, because it turns you off. You don't have to. But when you look upon that person, you look upon that person with the lens of the Messiah. God bless him or bless her. That's agapeo. Because we need to be honest, some Christians turns us off. They do. Period. This is it. Character, behavior, way of talking, accent. Some people say, cannot stand that person. That doesn't exclude the fact that he is a believer. He is bound to eternity with him, and you pray God that he might not be in the same condo as you are in the eternity. It doesn't matter. It belongs to Christ. And you say, Father, just help me out to see it the way you want. It's honest. Don't hide. I love you. I love him anyway. You don't. Surrender person to the Messiah. God would say, you have a hard time with Francois, huh? Leave it with me. I will look after Frank. If you say you love, you love. You don't, you don't. But we're humans, difficult. Number 2. We are out of love. Number 3. 16b, go back. That I am appointed for the defense of the gospel. Okay? It's the third thing, basically. He was on trial for Jesus Christ. The word defense is apologia, apology. And they recognized that Paul was their representative in prison. They recognized that Paul was their rep in prison. Why? They understood that Paul was not in prison for Christianity to overthrow Rome. They understood that Paul was not in prison by trying to overthrow Rome with a new spirituality. He was in prison for the pure motives, not to compete Rome, but to provide salvations for all men with the good news. Always on number 3. That's those. They recognize. That's why they say in verse basically 16b, the latter do it out of love, knowing. I forgot to ask you to circle, knowing. They knew that he was appointed for this. They knew, and they did not oppose that, nor being jealous of it. I forgot to ask you the word, circle the word knowing, because it's key about what I say. So they say, they were not doubting Paul. He's in prison because he did something wrong. No, he was in prison because he was presenting Christianity as an answer to the sinfulness of Christ, not to oppose any racial group. He led the Roman soldier to Christ. Not only the Jew. He could have done that because he was very Jewish himself. And these people knew that he was their representative, even in prison. And simply put, at the end of the third point here, he was appointed for that. It's a military term. He was appointed to safeguard the genuine gospel, to protect the genuine gospel. That salvation is by grace through faith alone plus nothing. That's salvation. It's not discipleship. That's salvation. That's what I share with the people at Warmland behind you. I tell them when I have an opportunity to speak those who are addicts, when they light up their stuff in the corner with the little piece of tube that you see that they use to inhale the dope here. You will die, I say to them. Because you know the amount of OD on the street. You watch the news. It beats the people that die of COVID. They will die. I cannot invite these peoples out of physical sight with my flesh, my understanding of the flesh. I cannot give them a poster for my next class on discipleship. They will die before I start the class. What they need, it's the gospel, that they can be saved by grace, by faith, through grace alone, plus nothing. And now you can return to your next fix, and if you OD and you believe the gospel, you will be in an immediate presence of God. Because if the person that is bestowed with the gift of laying on hands, if he is busy going to Nanaimo, the person will die in between and go to hell. By grace, through faith alone, you evangelize them. Discipleship is a complete. Hey, how about the criminal of the cross? I don't think he died from crack cocaine, but he died. He was nailed on the cross and he was a real criminal, a malefactor. Today thou shalt be with me in paradise. A disciple? A saved individual? Who lays hands on him? Number 4, in truth, verse 18b. What then? Only that in every way, whether in pretense, this is not what we want, but we want or in truth. Those who preach in truth, they belong to the second group. They are transparent in their teaching. They are transparent. No Pharisaic attitude. They have both an outward righteousness and an inward righteousness. They were truthful in their sharing. And they understood why they are sharing. Verse 18, it's not number 5 right now. The 4 points are behind you right now. But I need to finish verse 18. Christ is proclaimed, and in this I rejoice. Circle Christ is proclaimed, and in this I rejoice. It's a twofold conclusion here. It's a twofold. When I say twofold, basically now it's your 2 points. I just look at the time, coffee shop. Coffee pause. You cold?
Huh?
Are you cold?
You're supposed to relax here.
Are you okay?
Finish your notes.
Oh, I know that feeling.
I know that feeling.
Gotta learn to write faster.
Do you need to me to repeat anything, Karen?
Carol did it for me. Understand why they are sharing.
Yes. The motivation behind relates to always seeking the highest good in the object love. So why do we do what we do? Why do I do what I do right now? Show off? Okay, it could happen. But once you sober up and you reach a level of maturity, you understand, okay, I'm asked to do it to impart the best in the object love. And I hate focusing, but that's how I answer the person. I don't like when you see word confusion, should I? These are red lights that you say, confused, no, rejoice, your mom was just saved. And then second paragraph already there is confusion there. And you're not supposed to like the state of confusion in a state of, when it should be a state of feast, festivity.
But it seems that whenever something happens like that, where somebody makes a decision for Christ or a baptismal or anything like that, always something comes up to try and ruffle it.
It's an absolute. This is from the domain of
Yeah,
darkness.
I'm thinking that's a satanic attack.
This is the domain of darkness. Satan just lost a player.
Yeah,
Okay?
he's upset.
You like the Edmonton Oilers. Wade liked the Edmonton Oilers. You endure quite good Connor McDavid. You just lose a player right now, which is you know that he won't be the playoff or they won't go far. You just cook, dried cell included. So that's the same picture in the heavenly realm.
But it's a shame, like it shows that even those people, they probably thought they were doing well,
Yeah.
but Satan used them.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And it was,
That's the ungrounded people.
Yeah.
That you can see right there, just that line, the usage of the passage to make their ground, it's pro-charismatic thinking. It's right off the bat. They no understanding of the word at all. And they need to do something because they like these things. Laying on hands.
They need to gather in the upper room and pray.
Just go to Israel and find the upper room and do it. You cannot do enough.
Because,
Yeah.
I mean, that's how the disciples got the Holy Spirit.
But they take the scriptures outside of context.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're taking it outside of context, why not do that one?
That's it. Do them all.
that didn't work for them because it didn't give them. the
Okay,
authority.
let's not extend to that too much.
You know what, like this is
There is
where
no
the argument
addition.
can go, right?
That's
It's
it.
obviously their thinking is flawed here.
Yeah, but they also want the attention on that they can do something.
Yeah, it's, oh, I did this, yeah. You're right, so they're in the second group.
Yeah,
of the
they said,
road.
whatever you do it in just
Yeah.
in the quiet, right?
Yeah.
All right, Sylvie, let's do another 15-20.
It's good that you said that Acts is just historical.
What?
It's a history
It's
book.
good that you said Acts is just historical.
Absolutely,
because now-
absolutely. It is. You cannot derive doctrines from it
Right.
unless it's repeated in the Gospels and in the epistles, such as communion, such as water baptism. Okay? If the doctrine is expounded in Mark, Luke, and John, no, come on, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, alluded in the book of Acts and re-alluded in the epistles, you build a doctrine upon it. If it is in Acts alone, which is the laying on hands here in that case to authenticate their apostleship, not here, don't touch it. You never heard that, eh? Okay, of course. Beloved, we carry on. Christ is proclaimed. He concludes with a twofold conclusion right now. First, regardless of their motivations, their message was orthodox, scriptural. Regardless of their motivations, which is my motivations as I speak right now cannot be seen by you. Clearly seen by God, it's an absolute. Is the message orthodox? Yes. Okay? 1:14 reference. 1:14. 15. 16 and 18. That's the difference here with the book of Galatians that we have done. The Judaizer. Do you remember your book of Galatians? The Judaizers' message was you need to carry on with the law. Their message was not orthodox. Paul never sanctioned it. If Paul will say in a moment, in this I rejoice, it's because of their motivations was wrong. However, the Christ presented was orthodox. and this is basically, I jumped the gun, the second point, Paul will never rejoice in a different gospel. The gospel of circumcision. Yes, but they need to be circumcised. Paul will never rejoice in it. However, he does in 18. Well then, only that in every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is proclaimed, and in this I rejoice. He never rejoiced in this. He was condemning this. Because the Christ presented is the Christ of the Word, presented in pretense or in truth. And I finish with that comment in that section. In our day and age now, we are in the time of the apostasy, the departure from the truth, from the churches at large. In the time of the apostasy, biblical discriminations is all the more difficult. It takes a severe, rough, tedious training to listen to any messages, be it online, on TV, or in person. You need to sit down in your churches. The first thing that you need to ask to God, if you go to a church and it's a new church or a new pastor, you always pray for the capacity to discern what will be said. Because Satan now disguises in an angel of light, and sometimes the speech is very smooth and so well presented that you can no longer discern the faults in it. That's what we call, in English, you have a good word, subtle. Subtle, but the B is silent. Subtle. S-U-B-T-L-E, silent B. Subtle. It's not how the muffins are good, how the chairs are comfortable, and how the music sounds. It's not important, the music. It's the message. Beloved, have we not reached capital C, Paul's affliction to exalt the Lord? We start. You give me another 10, 15 minutes and we go home. We use our time wisely. Some people comes from far, Karen. You're the fathers. Honeymoon Bay. Crofton. Who else is from far? Charmaine, no. Anna, no, you're not far. Diane, you're not far. Glenn, run. Don't go there in the winter time. It snows in Genoa. Beautiful. Capital C, Paul's affliction, promote the gospel. No. Capital C, Paul's affliction, exalt the Lord. Put your finger, 19 to 26. 19 to 26.
Paul's affliction?
Just look at your outlines, dear you. Do you have your outlines somewhere? Yeah. Yeah, Paul's affliction exalts the Lord, capital C, under Arabic number 1. You're right, sister. Now, let me tell you, as way of introduction to that Paul was convinced, or convicted, or convinced that he would be released in verses 1, 24 to 25. And he expressed basically that hope to see them again. In chapter 2, verses 2 to 24. He knows in a sense that he will see them again. Let's do a few verses. Let's do 19 to, this is so meaty. 19, 20, and 21. 19, 20 will do the work for now. No, and 21. Come. For I know, circle for I know, that this will turn out for my deliverance, circle deliverance. Who has salvation? 19. Okay, I'll come back to that. For I know that this will turn out for my deliverance through your prayers, circle your prayers, and the provision of the Spirit of Jesus Christ. Oh, circle that 10 times. according to my earnest expectation and hope, circle expectation and hope, that I will not be put to shame, that I will not be put to shame, circle shame, in anything. But that, with boldness, Christ will even now, as always, be exalted in my body, whether by life or by death. You circle that carefully. Verse 21, for to me to live is Christ, and to die is a gain. Circle the word gain. In verse 19a, when he says, for I know, it's an inner persuasion of the Spirit. It's an inner feelings, because I know, was told by the Spirit, convicted or convinced by. In verse 19, the best word isn't salvation. Unless you understand salvation, sometimes that is used as deliverance. The best word that goes there is deliverance. Because it's not salvation, because people think only spiritual salvation. Now here, he is expecting a physical salvation. That's why the best word is deliverance. Keep in mind that his time in prison right now is reaching a climax. And he is expecting to be vindicated. His time in prison right now is reaching a climax. That's why for I know. And he is expecting to be vindicated. Rendered justice. Verse 19b, through your prayers and the provision of the Spirit. Paul knew that his deliverance would come by two means. Make your notes. Note everything here. Paul was convicted by the Holy Spirit that his requests, or it would happen, the deliverance would involve two means of support. In verse 19b, the first means it's by your prayers, by man, by human beings. By your prayers. Bear with me, I need some stuff to explain here. By their intercession for him. Prayer here is diseos. So that's why God wants us to pray. I'm not against prayer and in the time of Acts laying hands, but not in order to receive anymore. Diseos. Diseos, it's a Greek word used for prayer, and this is intense. Intense intercession, not just God bless him. It's to go on your knees, or to stop the car, or to turn the TV off. It does happen to me. Pray now. This is an intense request. Now kicks in the question that people ask sometimes. When we, Bible expositor, teach us that God is omniscient, all-knowing, do you know your omnis? Omni, science. Omniscient. What does it mean? Give me the word all. Yes. Omni. I want to impose that burden on you. You need to know that. You need to know it by heart. Omnipotent.
All powerful.
Yes, powerful. What? omnipotence of God, it's capable of all things. Why do I say you need to know that? Because there is millions of years before the days of creation. Say something. Because there are billions of years between any days of creation. Because God is not capable in doing it in one day, so He needs time for things to grow. Okay, capable of all things. So that clears off the issue of billions of years in between. That clears off the capacity to impregnate a virgin person. This one you know. In His deity, God is omnipresent. My best example that I use all the time when I teach the attributes of God. When you were young, those who were brought on a farm, or you don't need to be brought on a farm because I did it and I was not brought on a farm. The fun for a child to overturn a stone and discover the insects underneath in the moisture part of it. When you overthrow a stone and you see a caterpillar, a worm, or a little kind of insect that flees because they have been exposed to light. God, if there is an insect and the insect is a female about to give birth, and the insect needs a microscope to be seen, He knows the number of eggs that are in the insect and if they will be male or female. That's an omniscient knowledge. God is under the stone. He knows hell inside out, but He does not sustain a relationship with it. God is in the universe. Is it a good statement? God is in the universe. Is it true or false? False. Germaine is correct. The universe is in God. He transcends it. Okay? So you can take the universe. This is the universe. The universe is in God because God is bigger than the universe. Do you know the word amen?
Yes.
I think I would like to teach you amen. Can you say amen?
Amen.
Thank you so much.
God is in everything.
God is everywhere.
He's everywhere. Yeah, yeah. He might be in everything.
How come I teach this? Where was I to do this? Because one may say, yeah, but why praying? That's good. This is my imprisonment because two means to liberate Paul. Paul will be liberated. It's an absolute. Paul will be released from prison not too far from now, the now of the context. Nobody can negotiate that. That's an absolute. Look at Francois, look at all of us, our class guys. I will release Paul and I don't need you. But He delights in us so much that He wants also us to be part of the plan. Because He is a God of relationship and He loves us and He has loved me and you since the foundation of the earth and before there was anything tangible and existing. He wants us to talk to Him. So pray for Paul. I will use you, Sylvie, as a means, and the ends will be that Paul will be released. That's why praying. God will deliver me of my affliction right now. And I need your prayer. Keep in mind the following principle. Based upon this, keep in mind the following principle. I'm explaining, I'm taking this book. I know we're going nowhere. We don't go with speed, but why speed? We strive to understand the epistles here, the letter. Because people are, oh, come, if the people are saved, why sharing the gospel? You heard that yesterday. Yeah, if God knows everything, based upon what I just teach, He has an omniscient knowledge and knows that in 2056, on December 1st, somebody will be saved. So why evangelizing? It's a beautiful question. Nobody can answer it unless we teach what we teach right now. God has ordained both. It's a biblical principle that God has ordained both things. The ends and the means by which the person comes to faith. He has ordained both. The means, God works through human agency. That's why the gift of evangelist is given. God involves human agency. That's the means. Instrumentality. What's the end product? Paul will be released. What's the end product of the evangelist that does evangelism? The evangelist is the instrument. What is the ends? The salvation of the person. Yeah. That's, you don't teach that in seminary. Seminary. But God has all been both. So we are the means. Your prayers for Paul are the means, Philippians. The end product will be the release. Now we should not be like Job. Don't ask me why. I have chosen you to be the means to bring that native person at your church. Now you don't ask why. We don't need to know why. I tell you why a little bit, because the relationship that He sustains, because He wants to have a relationship with you. And keep in mind that the creation of man is the epitome of God's the paramount of God's creation. I think you're worth a little bit more than the ozone coat and the warming up of the planet and the trees. There is no salvation provided for your cat. The relationship is with you. And He said, you will be part of the plan. Evangelism, God knows all things, we don't. The elects are out there. That's an absolute. Some of them will be saved. That's the ends. By what means? Sharing of the gospel. He will come back. No amen again? Okay. He's coming back soon. No, I'm just teasing you. I'm having a good time. He's coming back soon. He will come back. By what means? The Jews will have to ask Him to come back. You will not see me again until you say, and it's not you and I. Until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, in Hebrew, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai. And then you go to Isaiah, come, let us return to the Lord. Bang! Sorry for this. He comes back. God has ordained the means as well as the end. He will come back. You will ask me to come back. Now you ask me, does He need them to ask Him to come back? Yes and no. Both yes and no. Can He come back